During the development of Dead by Daylight, Behavior came up with a lot of ideas for cool characters and killers that they wanted to implement in their game. Most of you probably have heard of the Smasher or the Teacher, but today they will not take the spotlight. We will be talking about this character instead. Who is this mysterious character that appears in the Dead by Daylight art book? Was this the prototype aspect of the Hag? Or is there more to it? My name is MintSkull, and in today's video, I will be talking about the craziest theory I ever had in Dead by Daylight. In today's episode of Mysteries of the Fog, I present to you the Crawler. Let's begin with the first ever mention of the Crawler. Sadly, the earliest mention of this I could find was a Steam discussion, where a user claimed that Dave Richards said that the Crawler will be the next killer in DBD, and it will include a more vertical gameplay. I cannot find the E3 interview, I cannot find anything earlier than this post, so I believe this is where the fire began, as it spread everywhere around that time. The community found a killer silhouette in the art book that they decided to name the Crawler. Because I cannot find any developer confirmation of this, I believe this is all a fake rumor that was popularized and became a DBD truth. This is not the first time we have had that. Anyone remembers how people claimed that Michael Myers on tier 3 was faster than a standard killer? That also started as a fake claim. Or how about the Hunter's add-on, Weighted Head, not allowing survivors to escape through the exit gates? This is also not true, but it was popularized by a content creator. Because of this reason, I believe the third way to escape the match or the Sanctum of Wrath Easter egg is also a fake Dead by Daylight rumor, just like never adding clowns in DBD. But that's a topic for another vid, and I got way too sidetracked. Let's go back to the Crawler. When the rumor began, everyone was talking about it. The Crawler, a killer that could climb walls but move slower, a killer that can ambush survivors when they least expect it. I have to admit it sounds really cool. The Crawler was associated to this image that you can find in the Dead by Daylight art book that comes with the deluxe edition, and you can find a character very inspired by the Witch of Left 4 Dead in a very weird pose, next to a place called the Bait Shop, which was a landmark on the Swamp, a map that was not yet in the game. So a lot of people were hyped. We're getting a new killer and a swamp map, that's cool. The rumors were so big that on July 14th, 1 month after the release of the game, the community asked Behavior directly on one of their dev streams, and this was the answer we got.
Pick a couple of them up for sure.
Can you give us the picture of the Crawler in her final appearance, if there is one? So I believe this is the... When people say the Crawler, they're talking about that character that was visible in our art book, that was in the back of one of the environments, and I'm trying to find it right now, but I have the art book right here, and that thing is gorgeous, by the way. If you haven't got the deluxe edition, you're missing out. But I cannot give you the final form of the Crawler right now, because that specific concept, it was just a background image we put in there, and sometimes we doodle a little character in the back for flavor, or for to get the mood of the scene right, because that's important. Yeah. And that's sort of why that character got created at the time. However, it was a very inspiring image, and it got people's imaginations going. And I think it's it. Can you show me? Can you show my screen, please? So there you go. If you look here, you have that character. I think that's the one that people call the Crawler. It's a really cool concept that is in the middle of the bait shop, which is a concept from the swamp, which is a different thing. That's something
so cool. That's gonna be so cool.
You're not supposed to say that.
It's the image,
but no, but there are images in the art book that pertain
that
to
we
things
may
that we
do
talked about
or
at
we
some
may
point
not
that we
do.
may or may not do.
Okay, yeah.
So I cannot show you an image of the Crawler in its final form, and if I could, I wouldn't call that character the Crawler. So there.
But that was not all. After practically deconfirming the Crawler from the game, The developers later on the same dev stream said this.
What will the newest killer, the crawler, be like? So that I can tell you with absolute certainty.
Yeah.
This is not gonna be the next killer. Yeah.
So that was the beginning and sadly the end of the crawler rumor for Dead by Daylight. It only lasted for 1 month and the rumor began to die with the pass of time. Later on we got our first DLC character of DBD, the Nurse, and later the iconic Michael Myers. The crawler was just a rumor of the past. But that's not what I think. I believe otherwise. Everyone knows that the hag is basically the final product of the crawler. That's obvious by now, right? But I have something bigger to tell. A theory so mind-blowing that I think it's not even believable. But I have strong evidence for it. The crawler, or in other words, the hag, was actually initially planned for the base game. You heard me right. I am sure of it. I don't think Trapper, Wraith and Hillbilly were supposed to be the only characters in the base game. I firmly believe that the hag, or better known as the witch, was going to be a DBD character. And I know this was too much to take, and I have not provided any evidence yet. So let's start with the first fact. The swamp map was a realm that was planned from the start, and this can be found in the concept art found in the art book of Dead by Daylight. We can see the farm, the Macmillan Estate and Autohaven as the most developed realms in the art book, each with their landmarks and main buildings in the map. But then we have the swamp with 2 main buildings, the steamer and the bait shop, along with a swamp landmark called the Shrimp Boat. The swamp was already heavily concepted and planned before the game was even released, and no other realm in the game, not even Crotus Spren Asylum, has even a mention in the art book. But this is weird, right? If the swamp was planned from the start, why was the Nurse released first? Why was Michael Myers released after that? And why was the hag only released 5 months later? I have an answer for that I will discuss later in the vid. So back to the maps. It is pretty obvious that the steamer is what we know today as the Pale Rose, so I won't be talking about it too much. But I find way more interest in the bait shop. What is the bait shop? Most of you probably assume that it is what we know today as the Grim Pantry, and you would be right, but there's more to it. Grim Pantry was released on the 14th of September 2017 with Leatherface, basically 14 months after the release of the game. But what if I told you that this map was already in the game from the start? What if I told you that this map was also known as Dead Lake? What you are seeing as B-roll is actually the leaked map, called Dead Lake way back in the past. The key differences here is how it's still incomplete, and also how it has those very odd and mismatched neon sights that are even present in the concept art of the bait shop, where the crawler is situated. This was the alpha concept of this map, and it was present in the game for a long while. Layout wise, there's almost no difference to the map we got in the end. But now there's an issue with my theory. Every single base killer was released with 4 distinct maps for their realm. Groaning Storehouse, Gas Heaven, and Fractured Cowshed were maps that were added later to their respective realms. So this meant that for my theory to hold its weight, I needed to prove the existence of 2 more swamp maps that would come with the base game. Well, let me present to you Village. The only concept art I could find about this map is this image right here. However, I cannot find anything else about it. I can't even find this image nowhere in any other concept art. However, what I can prove is that Village was a map that was planned from the start, but it was not properly textured on the beta. You can see how it looks like in this video made by user CRANCH, huge thanks to him. But as you can see on the video itself, this map was not properly textured until the patch that the hack was released. And if you want to see the village in its true colors, here it is. This is complete evidence that this map was planned from the start, and was going to be the 3rd swamp map in the game. But what is the 4th swamp map? Well, sadly this is the most undeveloped one by far. But all I can say is that I believe the 4th swamp map was going to be a Shelter Woods type of map, with a massive, giant tree in the middle, a bloodwood willow tree according to the concept of DBD, and somewhere on that map we would see this weird pipe as a landmark of it. You can see this BloodWillow as well on the game, proving that it was in the works from the beta. So with this, we got the first part of the equation. We can safely say that there were 4 maps planned for the release of the swamp, and we only have 2 of them currently on the game. Behavior, if any of your members are watching this vid, first of all I am honored, but second of all, please finish the village map for the swamp. I've been waiting for it 60 years now. But what about the crawler? Well, this part is a bit harder to explain, but I also believe this killer was planned to come with the game. As we all know, killers usually take some time to be created, and they change a lot from their concept to their end result. I would love to put examples on this vid, but I think we can save that topic for another chapter of Mysteries of the Fog. What I do have evidence for is the name change. I believe that the crawler never existed, and it was just the name the community gave to what we know today as the hack. But for behavior, she had another name from the start. Remember the dev stream I showed earlier? Let's take a look at it again.
At some point that we may or may not do.
Okay, yeah.
So I cannot show you an image of the crawler in its final form, and if I could, I wouldn't call that character the crawler. So then.
So, Matthew says that the crawler is not the name of this character. So what is its name? The Witch. Yes, just like the ones from Left 4 Dead, which is heavily inspired here. The Witch is to this day the code name for the hack in the game files. You can check this out yourself to see that I am not lying for clickbait or clout. The Witch was going to be a Dead by Daylight killer, but I don't know anything about her power yet. And that's not something bad, because I believe that that is exactly why the Witch could not come to the base game of DBD. Think about it. All the other 3 base killers had a very simple power that is not hard to program. And then we have the hack, place trap, teleport to them, create a fake copy. For that time, the hack would be a character so out there, so wild and original, that it would completely stand out compared to the other 3. So my theory is that her power was completely different from what the hack is in the end result. And I think simply behavior didn't know what to do with her. Let's imagine that for a second, that the witch could crawl around walls and jungle gyms, but then they would have to accommodate every single map in the game for it, and that is a no-no. The Smasher was scrapped exactly because of that, as he could break the environment and just create mayhem, but he would have very limited map design with a killer that breaks everything in the game. So maybe the rumor were right, and the witch could climb walls of the map at some point, but they just saw that as something not viable for the future of the game. But my point still stands, and I am sure that behavior planned to have the witch as part of the base game. Now I hear some of you think in your head, wait, what about the survivor that was supposed to come with this chapter? Well, according to my theory, she would be a part of the base game, not a chapter. Remember how many survivors we got when the game was released? 4. How many killers? 3. That's what I think happened. If you found this vid interesting, then hey, consider dropping a like, it helps a ton. Also, by the time I release this vid, I probably already started streaming. So if you want to check out some cool stuff on my stream, or if you want to see more of me, ask me questions or insult me, consider dropping by the stream. That would make me happy. Thank you for watching, and just know that if this was your first time in my channel, check out my other content too. I am sure you will enjoy it.